Hello and welcome back. My name is Ashley if you're new here, and today we are going to be making 3 types of cookies. We're going to be making chocolate crinkle cookies, peanut butter cookies, and a regular chocolate chip cookie. And we're also going to be making some homemade hot chocolate. My dad and his girlfriend are coming over today, and we're just going to have a nice Christmassy hot cocoa day. Now to get this day started, I ran out of brown sugar, and that is a key ingredient in these cookies. So we're gonna make some. I have my blackstrap molasses here, and I'm just gonna add that to some white granulated sugar, and we're gonna blend that together, and that's all it takes to make brown sugar. Simple to make, and a staple in our house. I'm gonna get this all set on our mixer, and then we are going to give it a good mix. This is gonna take about 5 minutes or so. This is adjustable to your preference. If you want a darker brown sugar, you would just add more blackstrap molasses, and if you would like a lighter brown sugar, you would just simply add less. I'm aiming for a medium to dark brown sugar because that's what we prefer. As you see here, the molasses is balling up a bit at the top, but it will slowly start mixing its way in. This is going to take about 5 minutes, like I said before, and then it will slowly turn shades as like lay, and then it'll get darker. So give it some time. Don't just assume you didn't put enough right away. Just give it some time to give it a few minutes and then adjust as you go. We're right about at a light brown sugar right now. As you can see, I still have some clumps in there, but that's because I want it to get darker. So it's going to keep mixing that out. Now we're getting to where I want it to be, so I'm going to lower my bowl and scrape the sides. There's going to be some that didn't mix in on the bottom, so you want to make sure you scrape that all in. Now that we have brown sugar, you're going to want to store this in an airtight container. This will usually last me about a month, if it lasts that long. I haven't had it go hard on me yet because we usually use it so fast. We top this on our oatmeal a lot and cream of wheat. Kids love it. And I do make cookies pretty often. I didn't know how easy this was to make, or even that you could make this at home up until probably about a year ago or so. So hopefully this teaches somebody new how to make this, and if you have blackstrap molasses and white sugar on hand at all times, then you eliminate the need to ever run out and have to buy it at the store. Now let's get to baking some cookies. But first, coffee. And baby smiles, of course. Our first batch of cookies will be peanut butter cookies. This is a simple and delicious recipe. We're going to start with half a cup of granulated sugar. Followed by half a cup of brown sugar, lightly packed. One stick of room temperature butter. Now the next ingredient is optional, but I always like to include it. It is half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of salt. I end up going with half a teaspoon. Now that that is all creamed together, we are going to add a cup of peanut butter. I had around about a cup in this jar, so I'm just guessing that that's a cup and it'll be fine. followed by 1 room temperature egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I do like to make my own vanilla extract, but I'm currently out. After that gets a good mix, we are going to add 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Next up is baking powder. We're going to add 3/4 a teaspoon of baking powder. I have a 1/4 teaspoon here, so I'm going to add 3 of these, and then I'm just going to mix it up a little bit in there. You can add your dry ingredients separately, but I'm trying to save as much time as I can on this day. Give that a good mix, and then our first dough is ready. This looks a little crumbly, but I'll show you that it packs together just fine. I'm going to put this into a separate bowl because I do need this mixer for our next recipe, but I am going to give it a good wash first. I'm going to show you here how well this packs together because it doesn't look like it would. It looks pretty dry, but it is pretty moist. Now for our next recipe, we are going to be making our chocolate chip cookies. This is a basic chocolate chip cookie recipe, and by that I mean I get this right off the back of the bag of the chocolate chips. It's my family's favorite, so that's just what we go with. Starting with 2 sticks of softened butter, 3/4 of a cup of white granulated sugar. I'm using a 1/4 cup measure, so I'm going to do 3 of these. 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm going to use our brown sugar that we just made. Make sure you pack that in pretty good. Once again, I'm using a 1/4 cup measure, so I'm going to do 3 of these. One teaspoon of vanilla extract, Let's bring this over and cream it all together. Two large eggs, ideally whisk one in at a time. After we get that all mixed in, we're going to do 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda, but my son wanted to put that in, so I let him do that. Give that a good mix, and then once that is all incorporated, we're gonna want to add our chocolate chips. This recipe calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips, but I find that to be a little much, so I just had 1 cup, and I let my son do that as well. So we are going to give this a good fold in, and then we are going to shape our balls. I did about like 2-inch balls this time. Now this recipe is ready for the oven. So we have our oven preheated to 375 for this recipe, and these cookies are going to bake for about 10 minutes. Time to pull them out. They smell and look delicious. They taste delicious too. Now on to my personal favorite, the chocolate crinkle cookie. This cookie tastes very similar to a brownie, but just, I don't know, just delicious. They are soft and chewy. Now this dough I made the night before, and this has to refrigerate for at least 4 hours to overnight, so I let that chill overnight, and I will show you a clip of how we made that. Here's all 3 of our cookie doughs here. Some, of course, are in the oven. Here's the peanut butter cookies, so we are going to crisscross these with a fork. Now, since I didn't do these right away, they are crumbling up a little bit because they did stiffen up a little bit as they sat, but it is perfectly fine. I just pushed them together a little bit. They baked fine. Everybody loved them. Now we lowered the temperature on our oven to 350, And these are going to bake for about 10 minutes as well. This is that clip I was talking about from the previous night. We have 1 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar, and we are going to add 1 cup of cocoa powder to that, followed by 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, but I add avocado oil. Give that a good mix. About 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Mix that all in. And I'm seeing now that I completely forgot to add the eggs. You're supposed to add 4 eggs at room temperature. You see I have them over there. I completely forgot to add them. So I don't know how those cookies came out as good as they did, because they shouldn't have without their eggs, but it is what it is. They came out good. These got rolled in powdered sugar and baked in an oven at 350 for around 8 to 10 minutes. Now we're going to get going on our hot cocoa. So we started with 8 cups of milk because I doubled this recipe. 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Our guest arrived at this point and I was talking and I accidentally added 3/4 cup instead. I don't know where my head was while I was making these recipes. Usually I'm on top of it. Now we're gonna do 1 teaspoon around about of vanilla extract, 1 cup of chocolate chips. I am doubling this recipe, so you can half this if you'd like, and I will link all of the recipes in the description. This is our table. I thought it looked super cute. I had help setting it up. My children and I made that gingerbread house, and I think they did such a good job. It looks so cute. So of course it has to be the centerpiece there. Here's the chocolate crinkle cookies, peanut butter cookies. My dad made some fudge, which came out delicious, and chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to show you how we set up this hot cocoa. We're going to add some marshmallows. You could top your hot cocoa, obviously, however you like. Some whipped cream, of course. Usually I add either marshmallows or whipped cream, but we're having a hot cocoa day. Let's go all out. And since we're going all out, we'll add a ton of this chocolate syrup, and this ended up being way too chocolatey. I shouldn't have added that. It would have been perfect without. I've made this recipe plenty of times. This is our go-to recipe on a cold winter day. The kids love it. Me and my husband enjoy it very much. And we sent them home with a box of cookies. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.